Still rolling. Oh, here we go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is going to be Within the Trenches podcast, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. And this episode is sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy. And we are here live in the Expo Hall in San Antonio, Texas for Apco 2021. We're at booth 1044, and this is going to be excellent. I didn't have a lot of time yesterday to get on here to do some of the episodes and such. I have everything scheduled for today. We got back-to-back episodes, so this is going to be fun. And I have my first guest this morning, and it's going to be Apco President Margie Moulin. How's it going?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been excellent. At the beginning of the month, actually the beginning of last month, when I was at another conference, it was in Las Vegas.
Oh.
So the weather over there, the highest it got was 117 degrees.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's warm.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And if you've been to Vegas, you look at those casinos and you think, it's not that far. I'll go ahead and walk it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's far, right?
Yes. Yeah, we were told there was a short walk one year when I was there to go see the pawn shop from the Pawn series.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks much closer than it is. It's deceiving.
It's very deceiving.
It was a long walk.
Yes, it's just like if those who are out of the Midwest and everything, when it gets wintertime, you end up looking outside. You're like, oh, the sun is shining. It looks great, but then you go outside and it's like below 10 degrees.
Oh boy, yeah.
Very deceiving. Yes,
yeah.
The weather's crazy. So I'm glad that you're here, that you're able to be on. We've got some stuff to cover here and talk about. What I want to go over first really quick so that the audience can learn a little bit more about you is what is your background in public safety? Like where did you start out from and building in from there?
Sure. So I'm from the state of Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in Southern Oregon, right along the California border, along I-5 in Jackson County. And I started out as a dispatcher in 1991. So a few years ago, and I worked as a dispatcher for about 5 years, and then worked my way up. I was a training officer as well, and then became a floor supervisor, and did that for about 5 years, and then worked up to, I was promoted to an operations manager. And then I was a director for a short time at that agency when that agency consolidated with another agency. When I started out, we had 5 in our county. By this time, there were 2. And then when those 2 agencies consolidated, I was selected to be the director of the Consolidated Center. So I've been in just over, March 1st was 30 years for me. So almost at 31 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's my experience.
Do you miss it? Like what are you doing now then? You're still.
So now I'm the director of the agency still.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So I'm still there. And I really have a great group of people there. I do miss, the dispatch days sometimes because I don't take calls anymore or dispatch anymore. And I have such great respect for what my own dispatchers are doing because I listen. It's different than when I was doing it.
Right.
And I feel like in some ways it's a lot harder. The technology has changed so much. I started out, we were writing things down.
Yes.
And then went to a CAD system. But even everything that's going on in the world and the way that our telecommunicators are treated sometimes has changed. I listen to the calls they take and the abuse and the seriousness of the calls is much more frequent than when I was dispatching. So,
right.
It's different times that I worry about that type of thing. And how do we do the best for the people that are doing that job? How do we take care of them?
Right. I feel like that mindset and all is also a way that, or maybe one of the reasons why, you continued moving up. You wanted to help mold that next generation that was coming in, kind of based on some of that experience that you had as well. You wanted to make that change.
Yeah.
Is that also, some of the reason why you ended up getting into Apco as well?
Yeah, I think it's some of all of it. I remember when I started, it was kind of the suck it up attitude of, you take that call and there's no time to cry and you're not supposed to react to it. It's that paramilitary,
right.
Get over it or you're not right for this job type thing. And I remember feeling like we sort of took in these people that were so enthused to be in the job, and then we used up all of that energy and threw them away when they could no longer do the job. And that always bothered me. So through the years, that was an important thing to me. I made sure that at our agency, we developed an EAP, and it's just gone from there. We have a huge wellness program now, and we even got a grant and got a massage chair for our folks.
That is nice.
Yeah, so it's been fantastic. We're always trying to do more and more. We have our wellness committee, which is part management and part our telecommunicators. They've actually even developed a garden in the backyard. So we have a garden, and they do different challenges and potlucks and, exchange health recipes. There's a lot of different things that we're doing. And I love seeing how that's changed. And that is part of what I got into Apco for, to kind of learn more ways. When you come to a conference like this, or you meet other people at different centers, you start talking and you go, what are you doing? And then you go, oh, I would have never thought of that. Let's go back and try that and see if it helps. So, the department chaplains and the department counselors and all of the things that we've added, all of that starts from, you start hearing different ideas of how we can take care of. That's part of the reason why when I became president, one of the first things that I did was establish that health and wellness committee. So I'm excited to see Apco taking that same kind of presence with health and wellness.
That's amazing. It's definitely needed, because just like you, when I had first started out, and that was, I think it was 2001. I was around 19, started out in Central Florida, and when I was doing my training, which my training in the beginning was observing a phone call being taken. Right. And then my trainer saying, all right, you're next.
Right.
I'm like, okay, there's nothing else to this.
Right.
But, I ended up a few weeks later taking a 40-hour beginner's course for dispatch and all. But there was nothing in there where they talked at all about our own mental health and wellness. Right. There was nothing about it. Right. And I guess it's weird to think about it now, because it's been talked about so much now,
Sure.
People are realizing so much more that when we're taking these phone calls, we're dealing with these same thing that others are that are actually out there seeing this.
Yep.
And sometimes it's worse because it just sticks with us, and there's all types of triggers and everything else. But I'm so glad that the things are different now. So let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
If you could go back to when you first started, like go back in time, jump in your DeLorean and go back in time to see yourself.
Okay.
What would you tell yourself?
I think that's pretty easy for me. I think the first thing I tell myself is to take better care of myself.
Yeah.
I think, at that time, having young children and even having some of my kids, well, I have 3, and one of them was born after I'd already been in the business. I think that the job was so, that was sort of first priority for a long time. It kind of had to be. And I think the philosophy that we all had at that point was, we'll just do the job, take the call. Don't talk about it when you're at home. Leave it at the door if you can. And that's really not possible to do.
Right.
So I think I would tell myself to let myself, that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to talk to a counselor. It's okay to make your own mental health a priority, because we are in this business so much about taking care of other people, that I think we shove ours down a lot. And we don't easily recognize the symptoms in ourselves. We just go, I'm having a bad day, or I'm crabby, or I don't like that person, or I'm being, I'm just being negative because of whatever reason. And there's all these symptoms that now I look back and I can see in myself. Yeah.
And when you're in the mix at the time, you don't ever realize it.
No.
Yeah, no, there's none of it is there. So for myself, I would think that I was leaving it at home as well.
Right.
However, that was BS, because I would get home and my silence, some of the disconnection, like it was all there. So it was still with me.
Yep.
I wasn't talking about it.
Right.
So it was finally good for me and therapeutic when I just started sharing my stories and finally talking and not caring about anybody saying that, I might be weak or anything like that.
Yep.
So that was one of the biggest things. And to also tell other people, you just need to ask for help. Because I would bury my calls. I would bury the calls. And people would ask me if I was okay, and I would say, "Oh yeah, of course," but I wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's true. We tend to look at others, and if somebody else is having a struggle with a call, what I've seen people in this profession, we jump in to help them.
Right.
And we're great about going, it's okay. You can have, these emotions. You can have your breakdown when you need to. You can talk to someone. You can talk to a counselor. And we're really great about telling others that it's okay to do.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's that, well, I don't need it, but
Right. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
We are, and also with that as well, we are we're the best at communications, right?
Oh, of course.
However, when it comes with communicating, together and stuff, it's like,
yep.
Throw it out the window.
Yep. And we really are. And it's I think it's changing some.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. I think people are much more accepting of it. And I think that we've involved so many others, as far as department counselor, department chaplains, those types of things, debriefings, critical incident stress teams, peer support groups, those things. We're making it very, I think, clear that it is okay. And it's okay to have help, and really even checkups, even if you're not feeling like you need the help.
Right.
Talk to someone in between all those times and keep yourself at a better balance.
Did you now that you were doing this now? Well, I guess before you moved up to the position that you're at now, did you learn about some of that self-care, and were you able to implement that with yourself before moving up? Let me give you an example.
Sure.
So for myself, I never really took care of myself. It wasn't until towards the end of my dispatch career that I got into yoga, got into meditation. So when I was taking a hard call, I was using breathing techniques to be able to keep myself mentally fit and just be calm. Because of course any switch in tone from us, we're on the phone with somebody, can change the call completely.
Yep.
So I was starting to implement that stuff, and if I could go back in time to talk to myself, I would tell myself to start getting into that more.
Yes.
Because it would help me out, but also just hang in there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can do it, and that you can get through it, and that it will go in cycles. I mean, you have times where the job is really difficult and you find yourself being really negative, and then you have times where you feel like it's great and you're doing well, and that's the time that you can help someone else. So I don't think I recognized it early enough in my career, but I think that my partners are the ones that helped me, because as you had time in between calls, you were constantly talking to your peers and talking about that last call. Or we're fortunate in my area, at least we'd have some of our users come up and talk with us, the police or fire users, and sometimes give us the end of the story or check on us, especially more recently. I think we're certainly more recognized as part of that team.
Yes.
And I think that helps.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of times, we were pushed off to the side.
Right.
And that's always horrible. But yeah, now things have changed. They're bringing us into the forefront, and people realizing. I remember one of the last debriefings I was in, one of the fire chiefs said, "Why haven't we done this before?" Like they're a part of this, and we're learning more from what it was like on their end than they're probably learning from us. So we should continue to do this.
Yep.
And it felt good to hear that.
Yes.
That we were being brought into the fold.
Yes.
Finally getting recognized the same way. So it was definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that team mentality, because it does start with the call.
Right.
And I'm glad to see that's being more and more recognized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to read here really quick at the time in the beginning. So you had mentioned that when you first started out, you were writing everything down.
Yes.
And someone here in the audience, Stacy, she says, "Yeah, same." Because we were using cards.
Yes, we had cards and different colored cards for a medical versus a fire versus a law enforcement call, and and you're trying to get it to the dispatcher, and you're having to try to throw it. I remember one of our dispatchers finally made like a chute out of some PVC pipe, and we were able to shoot it through there to the next dispatcher.
Oh,
so
no way!
We could get the card to them.
Oh, that is awesome right there.
That's ingenuity.
Yes, that is excellent. That is cool. The only time we used cards was when our CAD would go down. And it was funny though, because I remember we had just a newer generation that was coming in, and I'm sitting with them on phones. And I remember them asking, so Ricardo, if our CAD system goes down, what do we do?
Yes.
And I picked up the card and I picked up the pen and I said, you write everything down and you write down the times. And they were just staring at me.
Right.
And they said, are you for real? I said, yeah. Like, what else do you think we're going to do?
Right.
And then we have to go back in and add all of that in there.
Yes.
And fit the times to make sure that it works.
Yeah. And it's foreign to people that have started, with the CAD system.
Yes. Yep.
But it's still, I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. If everything crashes, we're back to pen and paper.
Exactly. Back to the Stone Age.
Yep.
You got to do it original style.
Makes me feel old.
So as I said in the beginning of this, we are here at the 2021 Apco conference. We're in San Antonio, Texas. It's been beautiful. And I guess from you as the president, what does it mean to you? And I think you can probably comment on, the rest of the board as well. But for yourself, what does it mean to you to be able for us to finally be here, to be back live and in person and doing this?
I think it's, for me, it's very meaningful because when I look around and I see everyone, masks or no masks, because we're wearing them, you and I are trying to stay distanced here, but I have my mask with me. But I think what it shows me is how much we need each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because I look at all of the Zoom meetings we've had, and then you compare it to the time together when you're live and in person, and the conversations that you have outside of official meetings,
mm-hmm.
and how much more you connect and learn and gain those resources that you can reach out to when you go, we have this going on in my center and I don't know what to do about it. But I know someone who said they've dealt with it because I met them at this conference and I got their card and I got their contact information, and I'm going to call them up and I'm going to say, hey, you were telling me about this program that you did, or this system that you're using, or whatever it might be that you need. Can you help me out with that? And those kinds of relationships and connections don't happen virtually.
Right. Yeah. And the ones that the people that you end up meeting, some of those friendships that are built at these conferences, they end up lasting forever.
Yes.
And you continue to see people and continue to see people, and you're learning more. And the networking alone, I tell people all the time, if you get a chance to come out to a national conference, you need to do so. I mean, all of the speaking, the sessions, they're all amazing. They're powerful.
Yes.
But in the networking alone, you can learn so much. And I told people, if you're with a group, don't stick with your group the whole time. Like, meet a bunch of other people, go to the receptions and sit at tables with people that you don't know.
Yep.
Because you'll end up learning so much. And you also realize how small the world is, that we're all dealing with similar situations, but navigating through them completely different. And there's always like an aha moment as well.
Yep. And it is a small world. And, in my opening speech, I said, challenge yourself to meet somebody new and to have difficult conversations. And I think that that's important because we're all different based on how you were raised, where you live. And I think that it's important here to reach out and find those people that aren't necessarily doing everything the same you are, and find out why, because maybe they have some pointers for you that are right. Learn from people. We don't all have to agree on everything that we do, but we need to challenge ourselves to try to understand all of the different sides from it. And we need to challenge ourselves to not be afraid to have those conversations and to meet new people. Because you're right, if you stay in your same group, you're only gaining the knowledge sharing of the individuals in that group. And there's a lot more out there in the world. I learned something from everybody here. New attendees that I talk to, they have a different perspective than I do, being around for 30 years, and it's refreshing.
Right.
And they have ideas and things that I hear that they're learning around here, and I can learn something from that.
That right there is one of the reasons, many reasons that I love coming to these conferences. The same thing with the first time attendees. And also those who are early on, because you get to it. I guess for me too, there's some nostalgia there.
Yeah.
Because I will be talking to people and they'll tell me, I've only been doing this for 6 months or whatever. I was lucky enough to come to the conference, and just listening to them talk, it's like learning how to ride a bike almost. Like you build it up. It's kind of hard, and you find the balance, and then you're doing it.
Yep.
And it takes me back, just talking to them and hearing their experience. Like, yep, I remember that feeling. I remember what that was like.
Well, and I think it reminds you too to not take it for granted, because
Yes.
we've been to so many conferences once you've been, in this business for so long and involved. And when you hear somebody like that, it reminds me how blessed I've been to be involved in all of this, to be involved with Apco and with MENA and with all of the other associations and all of the vendors that we've established relationships with. And it makes me take a fresh look at the conference again, because you forget.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets to come to these.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And there are actually a few people here that I know that it's their first time, and I've asked them, what do you think so far? And they're like, it's amazing, but it's overwhelming. I said, what's overwhelming? I said, walking into the expo hall, they're like, yes, there's signs everywhere. It's like, where do you go first? Where do you start? And so then they're going all over the place and just taken back by the technology. And for like myself, there's a lot of industry partners here that I'm friends with, because I used to work within digital, so I know a lot of people. But I'll see the technology that's going out, and I don't know. Well, I was gonna say, I don't know about you, but you're still in it. But for me, I get a little jealous sometimes when I see some of the new technology, because I think, I wish I was in dispatch so I could implement some of this stuff and really use it.
Well, and you want to, I feel that, because I know, being in it 30 years, I may not be in it for, I'm certainly not planning on being in it in 30 more years, but you do see what's coming in it, and it takes a while to implement things, and you can only implement so many changes at once. So I do look at everything that's coming, and I know that some of it, while I'm so excited about it, I know that some of it I won't be there for.
Right.
And I see what you mean. It is kind of that disappointing or jealous or something. It's like, well, I want to see, what it looks like 10 years from now, but I may be retired by then. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, especially because when I was working for the company, I was also one of their trainers. So I was the communications director, but I created all their training material, and the text for 911 platform that they created. I was training dispatchers and call takers on all of it. So then I would go and I would sit and watch them working on all this and taking, text to 911 calls, or creating text from 911 calls, or text sessions rather. And I'm just like trying to keep my hands away from the keyboard. They're like, you want to jump in, huh? Like, yes, I do. Like, I just want to jump in and try to use it.
Yep, exactly.
But there's a lot of different stuff that's been coming out, and it's fun. Like here in the audience, Doug says it's amazing what technology is available more and more every year.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and I think that we've kind of gotten to this place where we have so much technology that we now need to find ways. At least in my own center, I look at it and go, we need to find ways to find efficiencies, because we've piled more and more and more onto our telecommunicators. And how do we take something off to balance that? Because there's a breaking point, and how do you look at the center of the future and what it's going to look like, and how can we make their jobs easier while life in general is making their work life harder,
right?
Because of everything we're dealing with, and the amount that they're dealing with, and like I said earlier, the seriousness of the calls that we're taking now.
Wow. So as we're getting to kind of the wrap up of this episode, which has been awesome to have you here and talk about all of this, what are some of the new things that are going on with Apco? So for those who are watching that don't know about these big 911 organizations that are working for those in dispatch, and everything really in public safety as well too. I guess just an overview of Apco, and I guess some new stuff that's going on.
Sure. And I think I mentioned a little bit the health and wellness efforts that we're doing earlier, and I think that's exciting. There's some exciting stuff coming there. Another effort that we're working on is a military task force that was led by Cheryl Konarski, and she's done just a fantastic job, and John DeYoung was involved in that as well. There's a very strong committee there that's working on how do we partner our military, not just our military, but military spouses as well. We know that we have trouble recruiting. So how can we use both of those and kind of join them? How can we reach out and find ways to hire either from our military or from the spouses. And that task force is doing some really fantastic work, and they'll have some more coming out about some data projects that they're doing. I think that our diversity and equity course, I'm really excited to see where this goes. I think that's really important, and I'm excited to see how the first class goes that's coming up at the Georgia Training Center. And I think those are two items, well, three with the health and wellness. I think those are three items that you're really going to see a lot about over the next year. I know that Jason Kern, who you'll be talking to later, who'll be the incoming president, I know that he's got some things that he's looking forward to as well. But I'm also looking forward to seeing where do we go legislatively with Next Gen 911, where do we go with the SOC reclassification, where do we go with the PROTECT Act, because that PROTECT Act is all about the health and wellness of telecommunicators. And I'm really excited to see something federally happening with that and the opportunities that we have.
Oh, that's amazing. For those who want to learn more about Apco, like I guess what are some of the benefits and joining membership, but also I guess participation, like if there's any work groups that you all do, that you reach out to people for, what are some of those things that they can look into or look forward to, and then where do they find more about Apco?
Sure. I would go to the website first, the apcointl.org. And we have about 40 committees, and they're listed on there. They can go to that section and take a look at what committees they have and see what interests them. So if you go on there and you take a look at all of the resources that are on there, and you look at the committees, and you wait for the committee year sign up that'll start at the beginning of the year every year, try out for a committee, and you can sign up for multiple committees. You may only be selected for one, but you can sign up for them and then kind of prioritize what are you most interested in. And there are a lot, everything from IT to telecommunicator to supervisor type opportunities. Also PS Connect, which is the social media for Apco.
Yes.
There are a lot of different communities on PS Connect that you can join and just see the information that's coming out. And then you can post questions if you have a policy question or you're looking for some initiative that you'd like to start in your own center. Somebody else has probably already done it. So you don't just have to come to the conference to do that networking. You can also do it through our social media with PS Connect. And once you're signed up to that, you can take a look at all the different communities and see what interests you, put your name out there, watch what's going on, ask questions, so you can sort of network virtually as well.
Awesome. That is excellent. And, as we go, ending here, how has this been for you? How has the conference been? We're on day 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't even imagine the preparation that goes into something this enormous. I did a few virtual conferences that I put together, and that was a lot in itself, putting all that stuff together. So for something this big, I can't even imagine. I'm sure you've been out here for a week or so already.
We have. We flew in on Wednesday.
Oh, jeez.
So a lot of meetings beforehand. It's really fantastic, but the Apco staff and the conference committee are just fabulous.
Yeah.
They have this down to a T. They've done such a great job, and it's just been so nice to see it come together and see everybody here and start making those connections again. There's just a lot of great stuff happening, and I'm really proud of everybody that's been involved in putting this committee or this conference together. They worked really hard on last year's, only to have it canceled.
Right.
And there's just a phenomenal amount of work, and part of that is the Apco staff, but part of it's all the volunteers that are the people like me working in a center, but volunteering their time to become involved. So I think that's just sort of shows you what we're like in this profession. Everybody's always looking to do more.
Right. And it's definitely a win-win, right? Because you volunteer, but you also get to take advantage of the networking, that you can attend sessions when you're on break or whichever. So that's a big thing as well. A lot of people have said, if I don't have or if I'm thinking about going to one, how can I get involved? And like, well, you can go to the website, you can check out what's going on, or you can just volunteer to help with a lot of those for those conferences, because there's just so much that you can get out of it.
Yes. And even at your chapter level, see what your chapter level has. Get involved with them. Most chapters, probably all chapters, I can't speak for them all, but I know have committees there as well. So they can start out by getting involved in the chapter level and then sign up for national committees if they want to as well. So there's opportunities, and I know in our chapter we're always looking for more people to get involved. So if you have the time and you want to get involved, we'll find a place to put you to work.
See, there you go. You heard it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because when I was in dispatch towards the end of my career was when I found out that there were these 911 organizations.
Right.
But also with that, because no one really talked about it in the center, I didn't know that there was, for lack of better way to put it, a mothership.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
the national organization, I didn't know that. So there's a lot of stuff that I had to learn, but it's been a great experience, and I'm glad that we're all able to come around and do all of this and learn from each other.
And I know too, it's tough to afford sometimes, but I want everyone to know there are scholarships out there. They can go on the website and look for those as well, even if it's an online course that you want to take to better yourself, or the RPL program, or to come to conference. Take a look at the scholarships, because we don't want the finances to be something that stops you from coming to a conference or taking an online course either.
Right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been awesome to talk to you, learn more about you, as well as Apco and everything that's going on, and just the fact that we're actually here in person. It's really cool to just kind of look out and see everybody walking around, laughing, saying hello, and it's been really good. So thank you very much for being on here. I'm going to turn back this way to talk to the audience here really quick, but thank you all for joining us. This episode has been sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy. And if you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us. And there's the email right there. It's wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches Podcast. If you're looking for any bonus content, you can check us out right there. And that is patreon.com/WTT Podcast. This can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And you can listen 24/7 for Within the Trenches podcast on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.